What is going on, Guardians? J-Man here, and today we're talking about how Titans are toxic. As many of us know, Bungie is about to release a mid-season patch, which includes a buff to rapid-fire frame fusion rifles. It's not the biggest buff, but it will make them a bit easier to use and more consistent, especially against Guardians with higher resilience. So to prepare for this potential shift in the meta, I went to the drawing board to put together a disgusting build for all of my Titans out there. This is a loadout that works for all game types, but is definitely going to perform well in the competitive division and trials, as it's exceptional for winning 1v1 duels. And it all starts with the new Muna fusion rifle, Iterative Loop. The Iterative Loop has the ability to be crafted with enhanced under pressure and kickstart. Real quick, I want to touch on kickstart for a second because it's really where this entire build stems from. What this perk does is grants bonus damage and charge rate during a slide after sprinting. The main reason why rapid fire frame fusions kinda stink is because of their damage. The bolts just don't always do enough to finish the job, so Kickstart helps remove this problem by giving Iterative Loop a bump in damage. And naturally, this is only going to get better after the mid-season patch. Now you probably already know where I'm going with this, but if we're sliding to activate Kickstart, then simply put, we need to slap on Antaeus wards. In fact, both Kickstart and the reflective vents from Antaeus take exactly 1.5 seconds to activate, making these a perfect pair. As for the subclass, there are a few ways to go about this. First, I thought about Arc Titan with the Juggernaut shield, but thought to myself, I'm not trying to commit war crimes. Then I thought, maybe Strand, suspend some enemies, proc Woven Mail, and it was solid, but things really started to click on Behemoth. And the reason for this is because two Behemoth aspects directly synergize with your slide, which obviously pairs with Antaeus and Iterative Loop. And these are Cryoclasm and Howl of the Storm. Cryoclasm gives us that extra slide distance, really surprising our enemies with how quickly we can close the gap. And Howl of the Storm might be the most disrespectful ability in the game. This is the one where while sliding, you can activate your charge melee to launch a wave of stasis crystals. Oftentimes when using Antaeus, you'll be getting into these slide battles with shotgunners, and Howl of the Storm will shut them down every time. Now before we talk about fragments, we need to select a grenade. I've used Behemoth a good amount, and typically it pairs well with the Glacier Grenade since you can slide through the crystals and explode them. But for this build, I do recommend Dustfields. Dustfields are pretty strong in today's sandbox, and they have an extremely short cooldown when set up properly. The way I was using them was toss them and trap your opponent, and then hold W and slide at them with your Antaeus kickstart combo. It's one of those things that has a high probability of making someone literally uninstall Destiny. Talking fragments, I went with Whisper of Durance, Shards, Refraction, and Torment. Whisper of Durance will buff our Dustfield, making the slow effect last longer against our opponents. Whisper of Shards gives us bonus grenade recharge rate when shattering the crystal we make from Howl of the Storm. Whisper of Refraction will give us class ability energy after we defeat a slow target in our Dustfield. And Whisper of Torment gives us grenade energy every time we take damage from targets. So really the theme of our fragments is based around the Dustfield, enhancing its effects and getting the next grenade back as soon as possible. Armor mods for this build are pretty standard. You got your targeting, dexterity, and unflinching mods. I did slot a Reaper in the class item, so pop that barricade, get a weapon defeat, and spawn an orb. And I pair that with an arc weapon surge for Iterative Loop. Basically, any bonus to damage we can get on the rapid fire frame archetype is going to be huge. I'm also using Bomber to help charge my Dustfield faster, and I actually found that recuperation was really helpful by replenishing my health on orb pickup. So to summarize, we got ourselves a Behemoth Titan build that revolves around sliding with Antaeus wards and an Iterative Loop with Kickstart. We also have the ability to trap opponents in a Dustfield grenade, giving us a pretty free defeat. If opponents start sliding back at us to try to counter Antaeus, we always have Howl of the Storm in our back pocket. Every time we pop a barricade and get a weapon defeat, we'll spawn an orb which will buff our fusion and replenish our health. And just be careful when using the slide too much. We don't want to become predictable to our opponents, so feel free to change up your playstyle throughout the match. Guardians, that will conclude our video for today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the build. What would you do to make it stronger? different aspects, different subclass? Let us know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, a like and sub to the channel is appreciated. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the Cosmodrome.